Hello and welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog and today I want to do about nicknames. There's two reasons why I want to do a video about nicknames. I thought it probably needs explaining why I'm called Sheepdog, why I've got a million and one different names that nobody knows what to say. I also thought it'd be a good way to ruin Kevin and reveal why short stay is actually called short stay, because I said I would on Twitter, and so I'm going to do it. I'm going to blow the case wide open. The reason why it's in my head about being called Sheepdog was we were at Nuneaton at the weekend, and this lovely fella James walks up to me and goes, like, "Hello everyone, I'm James, nice to meet you." And I just kind of went, "Hi James," shook his hand, paused for a moment like a robot processing too much information, and then went about my business, talking to everybody else and acting like I hadn't paused. I do this every time I go to buy a coffee in Starbucks. They say to me, name, and I just look at them. My brain goes, and then a name comes out, usually, and then I try and think of which one would fit. In that gap, it's me going, well, my real name is Richard, but I've been known as Steve for about 8-9 years. I've been known as Sheepdog for probably 6 years. Growing up, my family all called me Tricky Dicky because my name's Richard. My mum always called me Trix or Fifi because apparently there's a character called Fifi Trix, something like that. I don't know the character, but she used to call me that. That evolved into Tricky Dick Bass, which I think sounds like an awesome nickname for a villain in some kind of Dick Tracy novel. And this American guy used to just call me it all the time at work, which I got to say I quite like that one, Tricky Dick Bass. But Steve was one where I started uni, met Kev. I've told this story a billion times. And I introduced myself and he said, "I already know Richard, so I'm going to call you Steve because it's easier," or whatever. He didn't clarify why, he just said, "I'm going to call you Steve." And I just went, "All right." And then he introduced me to people as Steve and I just didn't question it because I didn't care. Tiniest bit of me didn't think it would really last, but it wasn't that I didn't think it was last and so I allowed it. I just didn't care. I'm used to being called everything else. My friends always call me Bass because that was my surname. Bassy Baby. The people at school would just say Bass with a million S's on the end, which was just lame. I think of all the nicknames, that's probably the worst. I think my wife calls me Richie more than she calls me Richard. If she calls me Richard, she's annoyed with me. But he said he already knew a Richard. I met that Richard one day and I was like, "You're the reason I'm called Steve." And he didn't go down well. Apparently his name wasn't Richard either. He was called Richard because Kev already knew a Bob or whatever. But my own parents started calling me Steve at one point or another. And that kind of stuck around for ages. And then my sister's wedding, I was an usher. And part of the job of an usher is to run around ushering and getting all the people rounded up for photos and all sorts. And for some reason, the vicar just refused to use the word usher. He didn't say, "Usher, can you do this?" or can you get your brother to do this? He would just randomly go, "Sheepdog, sheepdog, go and get the people, please. Come on, sheepdog, get the people." And he'd just be yelling at me across the church or outside, "Sheepdog, go get the people ready for the pictures." And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And Kev's like giggling away because he's been invited to my sister's wedding. And on the coach, he was just like, "I like it. That's your nickname from now on." And again, I kind of thought, I knew by this point it was going to last. But I kind of thought, whatever. I don't care. As long as you're not calling me anything mean. But it just stuck. Everyone who was there remembered it. My friends like from back home don't call me it, but Kev, some of my family. My dad's on Twitter as Sheepdog's dad. That's his Twitter handle. I'm pretty sure. I don't know who did this actually, but someone's on there as Sheepdog's uncle. And I've got a small feeling it is my uncle, but there's always a chance it's Lee McElwain or somebody else pretending to be my uncle. I think that at one point my mum was on there as Sheepdog's mum, but she doesn't use the internet very much, so I doubt she's still on there as that. But that has stuck and stuck and stuck. And it's one of those where it's quite a nice nickname. It's an easy nickname. I've always just gone on the internet as lame names like RB6K, which is just my initials. And then I remember it being year 2000-ish, maybe 1999, so putting 2K on the end of things was cool to a 14, 15-year-old. And I put RB2K, and it said, "This username is already taken." And I was like, okay, RB2K01 is already taken. And I was like, RB3K already taken. So I was like, damn this! So I just thought, right, 6K is going to do me for at least 6,000 years or 4,000 years. I'll be dead long before then, but if I'm not somehow, at least I've got it nailed down. So in the year 6,000, I'll be a frigging legend. I always have 3K after other things like Bass 3K or something like that, just because I think that was the one that worked on most sites, but 6K was the earliest I could get on Hotmail. Which is bizarre. I want to meet 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5K and ask them what the hell they were playing at. Reebok have stolen my damn RBK. Their new thing is RBK, and I've just put the 6 in there. It looks like I'm a massive Reebok fan. But I used to have other lame usernames. I remember being... before Final Fantasy VIII came out, I picked one of the characters to be my username, and then he turned out to be an absolute loser, and that felt like an absolute train wreck of a username. I'm not even going to announce which one, because it's just disappointing that I picked a losing horse. But yeah, I mean, Sheepdog has stuck for so long now. It's quite funny that actually, when Kev's being formal, so he's decided that I'm Steve. He's called my wife Kirsty for years, and I don't really know why, other than I think I said she was thirsty, and he said something like, that's why we call her Thirsty Kirsty. And from that point onwards, we're Steve and Kirsty. So when he's being formal and he's saying like, oh, you know, Sheepdog was there, or he's talking to an adult, he'll say, oh yeah, Steve and Kirsty are coming, or let's invite Steve and Kirsty along. And that's not our names at all. It's Richard and Claire, but he doesn't ever acknowledge us as that, because we're Steve and Kirsty to him, and I'm Sheepdog as a nickname. So that's gone several layers of inception. The short stay one, which most of you probably want to know, I'm hoping I can stitch Kev up, because he's got this whole, oh, it's a big secret, and you know, you mustn't tell anyone, and if you know, you know, and oh, it's a, you know. But I'll give you 2 answers, and you can decide which one's real. Story number 1 is that Short Stay likes to visit Kev and Anna and look after Andy for them, and he's a bit of a nomadic man. Wherever he goes, he doesn't lay his hat down for long. He doesn't stay for long. He stays for a short while, and then he's off on his travels again. So we call him Short Stay, because he comes, he stays for a bit, and then he goes. Story number 2, we went to pick Short Stay up from a train station when he came to visit Kev and Anna to look after Andy while we were going on one of our weekends away. And we were driving around the car park, and Kev just randomly muttered to me, where the hell's Short Stay? And I replied, he's there. And then he got in the car and we drove on. Now, in that story, Kev didn't mean Short Stay the person, he meant the car park. I just made a joke of it. In the other story, we made a joke of it because he never stays anywhere more than once. One of those names was a good enough reason to brand the man it for what must be the past 4 years. I'll let you decide which one's real, and you can, you know, cheat in Kev's little test and email him it and see whether you're right. He'll know if you're cheating, if you get it wrong. So be warned, but I'm not going to make it too easy for you. I'm hoping I didn't give anything away there. I think both of them were equally plausible. Both of them were equally dumb reasons, really. He is nomadic. We did pick him up from a car park. They're both true. Either one could be the real one. So yeah. I've started using nicknames on my kids. I mentioned that I call my daughter Lamp Up because of the whole sheepdog thing. I also call my son Bosco, which I think I've already explained was because I was insisting that was the name I wanted to give him when he was a baby, before he was born. We couldn't find male names that we liked, so I just kept calling him it because I couldn't think of a better name, and my wife kept getting irritated by it. So I just kept doing it. And she kept saying that will never be his name. And so I was like, because you've said that, that's going to be his name now. I'm going to make him respond to Bosco. And he does. If I shout Bosco, he'll come. It's funny as well, like when my daughter was, before she was born, when she was in the womb, we kept calling her Goobert all the time because we didn't know what she was, boy or girl. We said it was a surprise. So she was Goobert, Bosco was 2-bit, and then this one was 3-bit. And that's how we announce the children now. We're just like 2-bit, 3-bit. There won't be a 4-bit, but if there ever was a 4-bit, that'd be how we'd announce it. A picture of the ultrascan, the name 4-bit, people would know, and that'd be that. But yeah, I'm wondering now. I seem to have a new nickname every few years. I got the nickname Bomber Bass when I broke the toilet at work. I think I mentioned that before. I can't think of any other names that I had nicknames when I was a teacher, but I can't think of what any of them were now. I know someone called me Hulk Smash for a bit, and I don't really know why, because I never really lost it as a teacher. I never really had a rage, but there was a couple of kids who called me Hulk Smash all the time, and I was thinking about it on the way home. I don't know why they called me it. I reckon they just thought, oh, maybe I would have had a temper. Maybe they'd, I don't know. I don't know how they'd have witnessed it, but they must have just assumed I looked like the sort of person who would freak out and turn into an Incredible Hulk. Maybe I told them that when I lose my temper, I lose it, and they just started calling me that because they thought I was a loser. That seems more accurate. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Let me know if you've got a nickname. That'd be well interesting. I want to know why your names are what they are. What's your username? That'd be a good question. One day, I might let you know why we call Kev Kev and not David, his real name. Don't know if many people knew that that was actually a pseudonym, but one day I might let you know why. He might let you know why as well one day. Let me know as to say your names. I can guess why Anna's called Miss Lelujo. I think I can gather that. I know Lelujo was just a name he typed in because it was the first word that came into his head, which seems like a lie to me because it's such a random word, but I'll go with it. And obviously some names I can probably guess, but yeah, it'd be interesting. Like, for example, Shaz, I know you're watching. I know why your username is Shaz. It's your name. But everyone else, let me know why. I think it's interesting to find these things out. It's weird how we have these names on the internet that follow us forever. Most sites will have an RB6K logged in on them, and there'll be messages that I've written over 10 years ago now. I mentioned over and over again on the Sports Interactive Forum, there was a thread where I'd had a meltdown at them about losing my game save, and people could find that for years when I first started using RB6K on the internet. But yeah, as I say, it's interesting. I love having a nickname. I love the fact that no one ever uses my real name. I don't think anyone calls me Richard at all, really. Maybe my sister, but other than that, I just don't think anyone uses it. Even strangers, it's Mr. Bass. I mean, work, I guess, call me it, but they don't really refer to me by my name that often. But yeah, I like it. It's good to have a nickname. So let me know yours. Give me a subscribe. Give me some comments. Listen, watch more videos. I keep saying listen to more videos. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.